All right, ladies and gentlemen. So hopefully you guys have a chance to had a chance to complete the warm up before your learning target today. If you didn't, you can go ahead and complete it. Make sure you complete it in class kick because that's the only way I can check your warm up. Feel free to pause the video at any point or fast forward if you guys need to, or go back if you guys need to. You guys do have access to those options because the video is uploaded on YouTube. All right, so set up your notebook. If you see that I'm going a little bit too fast on this video, again, don't forget, you guys have the option to pause the video or go back. Just like we do in class, I'll be doing an example. Just watch the example, just listen to the example. Unfortunately, I can't answer your questions, but you guys can watch it and listen, and then you can try a practice problem, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. So practice number 1, make sure that you guys copy this one in your notebook. It goes in this box, all right? In this box, you're also going to put some important information, and that important information is that the X is known as your input, okay? We also call that our independent variable. All right? F of X is known as our output, okay? That is called our dependent variable. All right? That is also a different way of saying Y, okay? That's another term that we can use for it, Y. All right? Let's go on to practice number 2. Go ahead and copy this. Practice number 2, we're going over some important vocab. Input, the value that goes into a function, which is X. Output, the value that comes out of the function, also known as Y, and we also use F of X. All right? Function notation, function. A function is a relation or an equation. We call that sometimes a machine. Basically, you put something in the equation, it does this thing, it manipulates, changes the number, multiplies, divides, adds, subtract, squares a number, whatever it needs to do, and then you get an output out of it, okay? Sometimes, in some cases, it could also be the same number, and this should have gone here in box 2, okay? So now let me go ahead and jump onto the examples. Again, this is titled example, therefore you don't copy it, you just listen and you watch. Says if the input is -3, find the output using the function f of x equals x minus 4 squared. That means that wherever I see an x, I'm replacing it with -3. So I have function of -3 is equal to -3 minus 4 squared. So I get function of -3 equals -7 squared, and function of -3 equals 49, because -7 times -7 is 49. This means when x equals -3, then y is equal to 49. All right? That's what this statement means. Go ahead and try practice number 3. You're going to be trying practice number 3 here in this box. Again, I'm just moving along. You guys are free to pause the video if you need to. So moving along to the next one. Example 4 says the input is -3. Find the output using the function f of x equals negative absolute value of 2x. Remember, I'm replacing x with -3 because that's the input. So I have function of -3 equals negative absolute value of 2 times -3. So I have function of -3 equals negative absolute value of -6. And anytime you have the absolute value basically takes away any negatives if we have them. So it becomes function of -3 is equal to +6. Don't forget, though, that there's still a negative on the outside, and that one we still bring it down. So my answer is function of -3 equals -6. This means when x equals -3, then y is equal to -6. All right, move on to practice number 4. Practice 4 goes here. Again, you guys are free to pause the video and try it. Let's move on to the next one. Example 5 has the input is -6. Find the output using the function f of x equals x over 2 minus 9. So I'm substituting the x in here, the -6 in here, sorry. So I have function of -6 is equal to -6 over 2 minus 9. Function of -6 equals -3 minus 9, because -6 divided by 2 gives me -3. I'm going to combine those two and I get -12. That means when x equals -6, then y equals -12. All right, so moving to the next one. Again, practice number 5. You guys are more than welcome to try it. Pause the video. You guys can pause the video or fast forward or rewind. Don't forget that. Moving on to example numero 6. All right, example 6. The input is -2. Find the output using the function f of x equals -x plus 6. So again, my input is -2, so wherever I see an x value, I'm replacing it with -2. So I have f of -2 is equal to parentheses -2 plus 6. Now, don't forget this one, there's a negative outside the x value, and the x value itself is negative. So when you have two negatives next to each other, they become a positive. So you end up with function of -2 equals 2 plus 6, and function of -2 is equal to 8. So that means when x equals -2, then y is equal to 8. All right. One? No. On to practice number 6. Practice number 6. You guys are going to do it in this box. This is the last example, the last problem that you guys are trying out on your own. This is the last one that you guys are trying on your own. All right. And then we're moving on to practice 7. Practice 7, you guys are going to try questions 1, 2, 3, and 4. All this goes in this bottom box right here in your notebook. Try it as best you can. For number 1, number 2, number 2, and number 3, that should be pretty easy using the information that's here. For question number 4, sorry, you guys might want to use notes number 7A as a reference as how to write a rule. Some of you guys might remember the pattern when I talked about the pattern, how something grows in the starting point. All right, once you guys finish, make sure that for this one, this particular slide, you have to take a picture and upload it to Class Kick. All right, upload it to Class Kick. And then there is handout number 9A. It is posted on Schoology, so you guys have access to it. It looks a lot better if you download it through Schoology instead of using this screenshot. And if you guys finish early and you guys have time, make sure that you guys complete this one. It says, on a separate sheet of paper, create your own pattern. It says, number 1, include at least 3 figure numbers with an image. That means you're creating your own pattern. You can make your own design however you want it, as long as it's appropriate. And number 2, make sure the pattern is consistent, meaning that going from one figure to the next, it's always growing by the same number. The change is always the same. So don't create a pattern where it doesn't make sense or I can't figure out the number. It has to be consistent. Kind of like you did in practice number 7. What is it growing by? How many is it growing every single time? And number 3, write a rule for your pattern. So you're going to write your own rule for your pattern. Again, if you're not able to do number 3 for this one, that is okay. But do create your own pattern and make sure that it's consistent. If you guys need paper, there is paper in the back of the class right next to the pencil sharpener that you guys can use. You don't have to turn this in. You keep them so that when I return on Friday, I can look at them. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, have a nice day. Stay safe, and I'll see you guys when I return to Mesas.